turn to your left and face the large wall map. This map is known as the map of migration. The light green colored area in the upper left-hand corner of the map represents the tip of Russia. The gray area beneath that would be the Bering Straits, and the dark green below that our state of Alaska. Archaeologists think that as early as 32,000 BC, man could have walked across the Bering Straits on a natural ice bridge into North America. The reason these first men came here was that they were searching for food, and the food they searched for were animals that are now extinct, such as the woolly mammoth and the mastodon. This slow migration process took thousands of years, and we finally pick up the story of the Indian in Pennsylvania approximately 10,000 BC. Our first Native Americans didn't look like Indians as children might picture, with colorful feathered headdresses and tomahawks, but rather like the little character you see in the cave scene. Archaeologists call him Paleolithic man. He survived on prehistoric game that he was able to hunt down. He lived in caves or rock shelters similar to the one you see here. Some of the oldest and most interesting artifacts can be found in the small yellow window behind you. On the top shelf in this window, you'll see fluted spear points. In the middle window, you'll see scrapers that were used to flush the fat from the hides of the animals after the kill. The bottom shelf shows two stone knives as a scraper. In the center of the window is a post mold. A post mold is a discoloration in the soil that represents a scientific clue to archaeologists looking for artifacts. Indians used pits for many things. They used them for food storage, some of them being as deep as 12 feet. They used them for guarding in these pits. Archaeologists discovering a pit or post hole oftentimes meant that they had discovered a village site. To the right of that is a piece of bone or antler shaped on a handle so that it could be used to punch holes in the leather for making clothing. And to the right of this is a famous stone axe. The stone axe is not to be confused with a tomahawk. A tomahawk was a dull. The stone axe was made by beating away at it with a very hard creek cobble called a hammerstone. It took about 55 hours at 114 pecks a minute to shape a stone axe. You can see if you look closely the many pock marks on the stone. The groove was made by rubbing river grass back and forth with wet sand. Obviously, the axe is quite light on the left to the wall. First of all, the Indians would pack wet mud around the tree they were going to fell, about 3 or 4 feet above the ground. Then they would set fire to the trunk. As the wood began to char, and purpose of the mud was to keep the upper part of the tree from catching on fire. We step into our bark house. We're waiting to follow the buffalo herds as they grazed on the prairie. Our Delaware Indians were basically farmers, and they lived along the banks of the river for hundreds of years in homes that looked just like this. This was called a bark house or a wigwam, and was made by lashing saplings together with either the inside bark of a basswood tree or rawhide strips.
These look like
Over
these.
top of this framework, they would
These
put
look like this one.
sheets of elm
This is not.
in a shaded fashion. Around 3
But that's
times
the original one.
Yeah.
was used for storage space. In the center of the room would be a
Fire
cooking
starter.
fire, and the smoke from the fire would rise slowly through the hole in the ceiling called a smoke hole. In school, we know
Drill.
that children are taught to sit Indian style.
Drilling
And we all
stone.
know that means sitting around the floor with your legs crossed. The reason that the Indians
It's
sat this
fire
way
starter?
was not out of custom or tradition, but rather out of
find it.
necessity, because smoke from their cooking fire would rise slowly through the hole in the ceiling, and there would be approximately a 2-foot layer of smoke present in the room. If the people stood in here, they'd probably choke, but if they all sat cross-legged beneath the smoke layer on these platforms, they could breathe. Now, if you kindly leave the bark house and then turn to your left. These
That's
are
their
bark
language.
houses or wigwams. From the outside in the front, you'll see a post mold or food storage pit. To the left of that, you'll see a beaming pole with leather being tanned in the sun.
Cha.
There's also a dugout canoe in process. Birch trees grew too small in the coconuts to make birch bark canoes, so the Indians would burn down and hollow out trees and use these trees or dugouts for travel. To the right of that in the field is some corn growing. What's interesting is that women did the garden, not because they were subservient to the men, but because women discovered agriculture on a worldwide basis. As a matter of fact, they would grow the beans and the corn in the same field together. The bean would grow the corn stalks for support, thus eliminating the need for bean poles. And then they would grow squash in among the plants because squash had vine-like leaves, which was the art of pottery making. The Indians never invented the wheel. So in order to make pottery without a potter's wheel, they had to use the A small hole would be dug in the ground.
Hmm.
It would be dried in the sun. About 10 days later, a very hot fire would be built from oak, and all the pottery would be put under the hot coals of the fire. When the pottery turned white from heat, it would be removed and let cool. Then the Indians would put the pottery with their china. The pottery was tempered and would be used for cooking. If it made a dull thudding sound, the pottery was cracked and would probably be discarded.
Oh.
The small pot to the left in front of the window is known as my little cord pottery because the Indian woman used a stick wrapped in cord to smooth the outside of the wet clay. If you look closely, you can still see the impression of the cord made on the pot. That particular approximately is 1,000 years old. To the right of that is Munsee pottery. Munsee was a clan of Delawares living in the Poconos. The incision or incised marks around the rim are indicative of Munsee pottery. To the right of that is a large jug. This is a Susquehanna water jug. The Susquehanna Indians were a tribe living to the western part of the area, along the banks of the Susquehanna River. Directly behind you, in the center corridor, you'll see some of the food that the Indians did eat. The small
These
yellow corn at the
12,000
bottom of the window is Indian
12,000
corn. This is the
BC.
actual size of the corn the Indian
Wait,
used.
yeah.
Because of modern science and agricultural practices, we have hybrid corn
6,000
today, which is
BC,
much larger.
3,000 BC.
On the walls, you'll see some of the different nuts the Indians ate.
One for
Acorns, butternuts, sunflower seeds, black walnuts, and hickory nuts. What is interesting is that acorns have a very high concentrate of tannic acid. And if you would eat acorns the way the Indians ate them, you'd probably become very sick. But the Indians had a method of leaching the acid from the acorns before they cooked them. Now, if you would kindly move on to the next room, and then turn and look back into the center corridor from this side, shows the products of the white-tailed deer. Besides eating the meat and wearing the skin, the Indian men and women used every part of the deer's body. They used the shoulder blades for hose, jawbone to shuck corn, the hooves for grain making, brains were used in leather tanning, antlers were used to punch holes in leather. Men wore aprons made from deerskin. When the weather got cool, they would wear leggings made from deerskin. These leggings were very similar to cowboy chaps. They were tied or lashed in the side, and that's what gave it the fringe effect. The women wore skirts that were made from deerskin, and when the weather got chilly, they would wear ponchos made from beaver or bearskin.
Do you see that?
The only time the Indians preferred to wear moccasins was when the ground was cold or if they were going to be traveling with rocky terrain. Directly behind you, in the yellow window, is the art of the jacket, of course, that you see in the block. The reason the Indians do this on stone illustration directly above it with a very high peak cobble, instead of crumbling, they would actually fracture into flat leaf-like pieces called blanks. On the top shelf to the right, you see a purple stone. The Indians would then take the stone in a deer antler and begin to chip or hammer away.
From 1850.
The final step is called pressure plating. A piece of rawhide was put in the palms of their hands so they would not cut themselves. By pressing and twisting simultaneously against the edge of the flint with a small antler, a piece of flint would snap off. This is the reason that arrowheads have such jagged edges. The arrow that you see on the back wall is a Delaware Indian arrow. The shaft of the arrow is made from hickory. The point on the end is called side notch Onondaga chert, which is a fancy name for New York State flint. The feathers on the back are wild turkey feathers, and you'll notice they were put on in a spiral fashion. The entire thing is held together with this, is that the first 3 points from the left are actually spear points. Only the 2 on the right are arrowheads, which means the Indians never had a bow and arrow until approximately 2,000 years ago, or the time of horizon. Before that, they used spears. By now you're probably
Last full
wondering where
blue.
the Indians got the name Delaware.
This
While
one?
you're looking at some of the display cases in this room, the explanation will be given to you. Delaware is an English name given to the Indians by Sir Thomas West, who was known as the third Lord Delaware, and the discoverer of the Delaware Bay. The Indians living along the banks of the river were therefore called Delaware Indians. However, they had a name for themselves, and that was Lenape. Lenape means original for ordinary people. Because one of the oldest archaeological sites in the United States happens to be a Delaware water gap, and because the Iroquois Indians in New York called these people grandfather, Archaeologists tend to believe that the Lenape Indians were one of the first tribes living in this area of the country. Standing in the corner is a mystical creature called Mising. The Mising was described by the Indians as being a large, hairy, man-like creature who wore a mask that was half red and half black and had copper-colored glowing eyes. His job was to protect the animals of the forest, and he was generally harmless. As a matter of fact, the only time the Indians knew Mising was nearby was if he had a terrible odor. He smelled like rotten eggs and sulfur. What's interesting is that Delaware description of Mising is the very same description the Northwestern American Indian had for a creature that they call Sasquatch, or what many of us today call Bigfoot. So Indians living in opposite ends of the country, never having communicated with each other, believed in the same creature, web of life. It demonstrates the interrelationships and balances between different living organisms on an evolutionary ladder. Humans can and often have disturbed the strands of this web. The turtle shell in the center of the web symbolizes the turtle, which was very important to the Lenape religion. They believe that the earth is a turtle which rose from the concept into the creation myth is particularly interesting because modern geologists realize that the earth was once covered with water,
1884,
and when it receded, land life began.
The cut from the
turtle was often referred to as he who carries our mother's body, the latter being a metaphor of the earth. They also believe the ebb and flow of the tides was a result of the breathing of this giant
In
turtle.
Deepwood, of course,
If you look on the opposite wall, you can see the plants the Lenape used for food and medicines. The descriptive cards tells the common name of each plant. In the brackets is the Lenape name, and in the parentheses is the scientific name.
But look how.
Sorry, you had to die, buddy. Sorry. Cutting and kindling.
That's the axe, but they're metal. That's
French
been
trade
made.
axe made of cast iron, and the last one is a stone tomahawk.
That's the stone tomahawk.
That's to kill you.